Virtus.pro, of course, have had a much better second half than first half to this stage, and they're going to look to continue with it. And BDS, they've not had things all their own way, Des.
They haven't. It's been one of their rougher stages if you look back in history.
Oh, you don't know dinner?
What were we saying, Ace? We said Thatcher not banned on Oregon? At this point, it'll try and spin
it's now 3 or 4. 3 or 4.
No moving goalposts. That's not how this works.
No, man. Is it 2 or 4?
I tell you what, if you get 1 of 4, you buy me dinner. I don't know if you guys can hear this in the background, but
probably
they are
not.
Screaming across the
There's
studio.
a slight disagreement, but we've got Thatcher, we've got Nomad banned out. Interesting start. So the Iana does stay alive. I mean, this is not going well for Milosh. Of course, he predicted Iana, Maverick, Goyo and Valkyrie. Can he even hit one, or is it going to be the mirror? There's a good chance it could be the mirror.
No!
There we go!
He's got it! Jess even said, oh, not the mirror. Okay. Milosh, 0-4 on ban predictions, and this is why he's now hosting our desk. Bless his heart and soul. Everyone loves this man. Oh, well, that's a great way to get us gassed up for round 1. Then, Ace, let's get into it. BDS are kicking off on the defense on the Sun, Oregon, to get this second game of the day underway. We mentioned about how their record has gone so far throughout the stage. 5 complete wins, taking 3 points away, 1 overtime loss, and 1 complete loss. So 5-2, if you want to look at it this way. Against Virtus.pro, on paper, we would be saying this is a game they should win. VP in the doldrums a little bit, not as strong as maybe they once were. So this, to me, does look like a game that BDS should take. But we would have said that last week about BDS versus Kavana. That was 7-5 to BDS. They've had some close games. It's not as clear-cut as maybe it once was.
It's not as clear-cut ever for BDS at this point in time. They've not really been, I don't think, quite as sharp as we saw back in stage 1 when they fought Na'Vi for that top spot all the way to the end of the stage. Don't get me wrong, BDS still extremely good, but they just look that little bit more beatable this stage around, and maybe Virtus.pro are the team that can prove that for us. They can come out, they can have a strong performance. They're still 7th, there's still a lot of work for the Russian side to do, but they've certainly been doing it so far, and the improvements have been noticeable. And really, it's a very strange one for BDS because we look at their players individually, Des. They've got a lot of players that are up at the top of the stats leaderboards, whether that be for cost KPR, whether it be for plants. They've got Shaiko, they've got Breedy. They've got these players that can just absolutely muscle through rounds and games. But they're in second. And they're really in the mix. There's a couple of results that haven't gone their way. They're being stretched to 7-5. They always seem to be getting pushed.
They do. I think it's the balance and the change of the tides almost in Europe, where it's not just about BDS being at the top and teams chasing their tail all the time. In this case, it's BDS looking to chase G2's tail. It's chasing Empire, who are tied on 16 points with them. It's a change of the old guard, and I'm living for it when teams start to improve and the competition gets only increasingly fiery. But let's see how things are kicking off then. We are starting out in the basement on the first site, and as you'd often come to expect from some teams, it looks to be a full map clear coming out of Virtus.pro. Big Tower going to be their starting point, with Pasha currently positioned out towards Small Tower, looking to converge in the middle of the map and then start looking for their assault in towards basement. We talk about this Flores all the time, really keen to see where those 4 Terrors get used. No doubt they'll be kept in the back pocket until we're starting to look at the downstairs, as you want them to get rid of things like the Mute Shield, like the ADS is coming out of the Jaeger, like the Banshee's coming out of the Melusi. There's so much that you can focus on here. Keeping Pasha alive is going to be pivotal until they can start being used, and that may be about now as the first one has been deployed.
I'm loving LMs down at the bottom of Freezer stairs with the SAS shotgun as well. It's something that we don't see so much of anymore, and I don't know, I think it's a bit of a LATAM play. Last year I saw this an awful lot in the LATAM region, and there's some guys over there that are just absolutely fantastic at holding this position, but it's always an exciting battle to watch because it just gets really aggressive with the peaks trying to stop anybody moving down those stairs. But for the time being, Virtus.pro are focusing themselves around rear stage and around electrical. Now, in goes the first Rotero drone. It's just going to anchor almost immediately as it gets down there from Pasha. Second one shot out.
That's the third. The first one came down Big Tower and got shot out straight away.
BDS, they are looking pretty alive at the back. But Renshiro, he's not looking alive anymore, does.
That's not tend to happen when a frag grenade lands in front of your face. The man goes down, out comes the Ying, the Candelas springing into action, and so do VP, but Shaiko, the only one to find a frag in the ensuing debacle. Lems, another one, and like that, it seems this attack from Virtus.pro has been slowed down. Pasha finding one, Rafal's down on the ground at 3 versus 2, and with control of the north side of the map and 30 seconds to play, they have got time to play with here, but you've got to be mindful of Bride, who's stuck between a rock and a hard place, whether he won that fight or not. The guys behind him were going to give him a bit of a headache. Milan finally put down. It's a 1 versus 2 for Lems. Can Virtus.pro take the first round in the final 15 seconds?
For all intents and purposes, Lems has got it all to do here. He finds angles through onto the man. That will be Rafal finished off. 8 seconds left to go, and VP, they've got to do something about this. They have managed to get the resuscitation off, so they are now 3 versus 1. Diffuser going down from Milan. Surely this is too much for Lems to do. He's just trying to peek, he's trying to pod and poke and just try and find any angle that he can. He moves around through the rotation, shut down by Pasha, and that's going to be a successful first attack for Virtus.pro, and that is a great start for them here against BDS. You would have put money on BDS locking down Laundry on their defence, but Virtus.pro somehow have been able to get it.
Yeah, me and Jess were speaking in the pre-show, and we were talking about BDS, about how they're one of the only teams that I know of that doesn't have a, dare I call it, a full roam strat. They don't have a heavy roam strat coming out on the basement of Clubhouse. One of the only teams to do so.
They rarely use one anywhere,
they
to be fair.
They aren't a massive roaming team, to be honest, no. Unless you're on a map like Coastline, for example, where you'll see LMs picking up things like the Vigil. They're not really a roam team. They're quite static, and Virtus.pro there have had the run of things. Start big tower, start small tower, converge over things like freeze up towards big tower, and then push your way through. A couple of grenades in there, burn out the ADSs, sure, try and get the Rotero drones down, which BDS did deal with quite well. But outside of that, it was very simple, I guess, with Virtus.pro is the way they'd look at it. Almost in a closing 3 versus 1. LM's unable to do anything about it. Round 1 Virtus.pro, fair play.
I mean, it's something that we've discussed previously, is the roam of BDS. I'm thinking particularly of Clubhouse. Church and Arsenal, you very rarely see them playing off that basement side.
You can almost guarantee what you'll see. You're going to see Shaker. Trying to find the 2 words together there. Shaiko playing behind Generator. You have the Bandit playing on Church Wall. You have a Maestro playing inside of Church as well. Their lineup is just predictable. And
they're going to be down there. Predictable.
That's the thing. Remember last year when I think Rogue played them on this map, and they played Oregon 4 times leading into that game. They were undefeated, and Rogue came in, countered them brilliantly, and the players came out after and said, we attribute all this down to Arkuth. He has sat there, he's analysed what they've done for the last 3 or 4 maps, and we know what the counter is going to be. That's always my concern with teams that play too static or do the same thing time and time again. You will get countered whether you like it or not.
Well, that's it. Virtus.pro aren't playing with any fear at that point, are they? You know, they're happy to know that they can go in and take meeting because they're not going to get hit on a flank. They're happy to just play themselves at the top of rear stage, to push in through bunker, because they know they don't have to cover those other angles. They know they don't have to go on a full map clearance. It gives them more time, it gives them more space, and maybe, just maybe, it's something that BDS could bring to their extremely good game. We know that they are very capable of winning those gunfights, that they are lining themselves up for, and that's why they're lining themselves up for it. But maybe just a little bit more unpredictability would bring another string to the bow of BDS. Right now, they do have Rafal down in the basement. As we're saying this, Des, it's almost as if we're sort of speaking it into existence, and we've got Rafal downstairs. That could be dangerous, because Virtus.pro, they might not be too on top of looking for these roamers. We're against BDS. We don't necessarily need to worry about so far away from sight, and they could end up getting hurt.
Yeah, WTG opening kill onto Lems, the mute being taken out early on. As those Roteros, you still hear them beeping away throughout the map, getting rid of barbed wires, whatever utility they can come across. And I thought for a second we'd see Pasha get really creative, purely because there are mute jammers scattered all across the top floor. There's lots of good bottlenecks for mute jammers to go down, and that would slow the Roteros down normally. In this instant, though, nothing crazy like having to throw them in through satellite windows. We saw a couple of teams doing over the last week or so. A lot of them instead focusing on towards big window. Final 60 seconds or so, and that satellite window we spoke about just a second ago is finally given a bit of attention. Milan, maybe not the right kind of attention. A frag grenade coming through towards that connector wall. No one present. no one goes down.
BDS looking reasonably solid at this moment in time. Renshiro playing underneath on the Goyo with the option for Nitro Denial, should it present itself. We've got Brede in the most interesting position for me. He's been forced out of it by a drone there. Renshiro on the underneath manages to find WTG and Virtus.pro. They could well find themselves answering questions here for why they did not clear out this bottom floor and how much it's going to damage them. There you go. Surely Pasha should have had the kill there, but no, Renshiro somehow manages to wheel 90 degrees around and find the headshot onto the man. Great plays from the Goyo underneath. 14 seconds left to go, and it's starting to fall apart slowly for Virtus.pro here, and we're starting to see why BDS don't necessarily always need to play with the heavy roam game with the flankers, because they will just win those gunfights. Shaiko ripping the man off the upside down rappel, and that is why sometimes BDS are just happy to play inside.
Oh, I mean, look at it. 4 gunfights coming out, 4 gunfights won. Brede, the man's a legend at this point. The fact that he can play things like that, like normally you see on the downstairs elbow inside of the construction site out towards blue is where you'll see that reinforced wall coming down late. He leaves, in this case, that single wall open through the walk-in wardrobe, challenges through it the whole time, and when he feels okay, enough's enough now, I'm probably at risk of someone rotating over and throwing a grenade in my face, throws down a smoke to cover himself, reinforces the wall off. It's like it was never even opened in the first place. Really good stuff from him, and we saw that wicked little flick shot coming out of Shaiko at the end. That's why you tune in to watch BDS play, needless to say. 1-on-1, things all balanced out. We're going to try ourselves on the downstairs once again. We're Virtus.pro back in round 1. We're in that 3 versus 1 to close. Imagine BDS will have a thing or two to say about that. One of those things being a warden being brought along in case WTG returns on the Ying.
Yeah, I think Virtus.pro probably need a plan B here. They need to come out and do something a little bit different, because that's something that BDS do extremely well, is they figure teams out and they know exactly what's going to be brought against them. And the thing is, you don't get to play into their static positions. I know that we've mentioned these static positions. You don't always get to play into them too many times successfully. You know, to give the counterpoint to what we've said there, yes, it can leave them a little bit predictable sometimes. For example, do any of us wonder where Shaiko is going to be playing this round? Absolutely not. We know where he's going to be playing. He's got a spot named after him. He's going to be playing in it. But the point is, he just plays it so well that you can't always get away with moving him time after time after time. So the fact that Virtus.pro have done it successfully once, it might be an idea to have a little look at Laundry, have a little look at Freezer, move it round a little bit.
It's the same thing we say about Empire, right? Like Empire of old and the Empire of late. They've kind of gone back into that playstyle of, look, we don't need to innovate every single round and bring something new and creative. We can just do the same thing over and do it so well that you can't respond. And that often is BDS's mantra. Compare that to, say, G2, who at least this stage, I think, have had some of the most creative setups that I've seen. I will never, ever forget their mirror mute a Rooney hold of admin against Virtus.pro, the team, of course, that you're seeing in this game, where they managed to hold them back for a solid 2 minutes and 15 seconds in admin. That gives you no time to set up for an execute on the rest of the map. It was pure beauty. So, conflicting styles coming out, but if everyone played the same, then we'd have quite a boring competition to watch, Ace. So I'm glad that there is a little bit of difference. First 60 seconds down, you've heard that first Retiro come out, a bit of drone work coming out of VP. Interestingly, all 10 drones still alive as well. Normally expect something like the Jaeger of Rafale to be able to get 1 or 2 halfway up big tower stairs, back himself away slowly, but happy that he's caught out at least 2 of those drones. Not to be the case, and once again, Virtus.pro being given the run of the map here to get everything open that they need opened up.
They have, and this is what we were talking about. Look how much time is left on the clock, Des. 1 minute 30. We're only halfway through the round, and there's a lot of progress been made by Virtus.pro already. Oh, that was an excellent attempt there. But Brede was alive. He knew it was coming. The Retero comes through the drone hole, gets shut down, and that protects a very important piece of utility. That deployable shield on elbow is going to help Brede lock down that bunker entrance, and by proxy as well, it helps him keep Shaiko safe. It all adds into the defensive structure.
You've got it absolutely spot on. I was going to say really smart from Virtus.pro to identify that, you know, Brede is there as the cover to keep Shaiko safe. If you remove Brede, you remove half of the strength towards Shaiko in this case. Grenade started to sing in, as we saw prior. They found an opening kill in the prior round, but not to be the case here. Now, Shaiko knows there's a little bit coming out from construction side, still has that support of Brede, despite all the time that Virtus.pro have had, 2.5 minutes. so far, BDS do not look shaken. They've got 3 playing around Pillar. They've got Brede still playing at the bottom of Elbow. They've got a lot of tools. They see the drop. 1, 2 come through, but 2 big shots come through. Ras, Pasha and WTG. 3 headshots, 3 kills Meal on the 4th. The 1 versus 5 for Brede. Something tells me as much a good a gunner as he might be, you don't see yourself holding on to this one for too long. 10 seconds to go, and in come Virtus.pro. If anyone could do it, though, it's going to be Brede. Finds 1, finds 2. The man's on a mad streak already. Can't go and get the final. Milan finding the kill, and Virtus.pro, for the second time this map, win the basement site.
I've got to shout out that double drop into Electrical, Des. That was 2 unbelievable wins on gunfights from Virtus.pro. Absolutely wild. You don't expect to drop 2 men into Electrical when you've got 2 at Pillars, you've got 1 in Shaiko spot, and to come away with 2 kills and no deaths. That is unbelievable for Virtus.pro. Amazingly played.
It's the 4 that it rolled into. It wasn't just 1 kill or 2 kills. Or, well, we got 2 kills, but we lost 2 back in response. No, 4 kills on the bounce. That feels unheard of against BDS is the only way that I can describe it, but another good attack. And we speak about that kind of static nature of BDS. As you say, we're used to seeing these positions from them week in, week out. So for Virtus.pro to come in and go, cool, we know that we can chuck a nade in to block off the top side of Highway. That'll leave us clear and know that we've got Shaiko to deal with and the player in the top left corner of Pillar. It makes things predictable for them, and it's worked wonders for them twice on the downstairs. BDS are taking a bit of a gamble. They're trying the downstairs site a 3rd time here, Ace.
Well, we've mentioned predictability. I don't want to keep coming back to that word, but round 1, Virtus.pro stacked up very well for what was being done against them on the defence. They closed it down, they dealt with it. I wouldn't have expected Virtus.pro to be able to come and do the same thing again in round 3 and to just play directly into that BDS defence at Pillars and win out. But here we are. They've done it, and they're going to try and do it again. But Des, I can see you hopping. I can see you hopping with excitement. Hit me with the facts, Des. What are Virtus.pro doing?
They've got the ying again in the round that BDS has stepped away from playing the Warden. They brought it in round 1, there was no Warden. Step into round number 3, they bring along the Warden. There is no ying. Step into round number 4, there is no Warden, and there is a ying. So VP are just mind gaming the living hell out of them right now.
It's a wheel within a wheel.
It is, mate. They're just being caught inside of each other. It's unbelievable. But Virtus.pro are the ones who are coming out on top. So keep a close eye, because last time round it was the Candelas around Pillar that got them inside, got them the control they needed, and gave them the advantage in those in the gunfights. Sorry. Looking into last round, it was those raw drops and the gunfights that went their way. This time round, there's less reliance on that, or at the very least, the gunfights you do take are heavily skewed in your favour, because when the enemy's whole screen is white, guess what? They can't really see you and take a fair gunfight.
Virtus.pro moving in reasonably quickly. We are just over a minute into the round now, and we can see they've got control of rear stage stairs. They've got Kazjeka moving into main lobby. WTG finds himself a big opener onto Renshiro there. Ooh, now that's an interesting one. That's in security corridor. Lems is pushing up. He's getting aggressive here. He's just going to dip away after taking out a little bit of utility.
It was the way you said security corridor with in before it, like insecurity corridor, as if like he just felt really nervous in there, like he didn't feel particularly safe, and sure enough he didn't, because he got shut out. Great opening kill though, because Renshiro being out on the road. See, now you're cackling
like
as well.
Like it was a metaphorical corridor in his mind.
That's what tickled me.
Security corridor. I'll go for that one. I like that one.
Beautiful. Pasha doing what Pasha does best. These Retiros are his bread and butter in this game. Quite explosive bread and butter.
Trying it again.
He wants
Trying it again. He's got it. He's got it.
He's done him in there. Now Brede's out. That's the support is removed for Shaiko. And I'm sure Brede wants to step back in and get the reinforce off. He looks like he wants to stay their way, so I'm not too sure.
I think given the time, there's still a minute left to go. He's not going to want to give it up too soon, especially with Shaiko getting aggressive up into bunker. And there's nobody pushing that double door right now, Des. So there's no immediate threat coming onto elbow. So Brede can hold his position there for the time being. And the thing is, by leaving that wall open, it gives him the option in the late round. If he comes down to a 2v2 or something like that, he can rotate around. They can't necessarily predict which way he's going to attack from. 35 seconds left to go. The only advantage to be found here is Virtus.pro with 1 kill on the board, but there's a lot of work to be done. They're actually pushing down Freezer this time, trying to mix things up, but it's not going to go well for them as Rafal finds Rask with a headshot down at the bottom of Freezer stairs. Pasha, he's waiting to double down on that and to push in with the pressure, but he might just get the chance now. Pasha sends in a Rotero drone. He's going to anchor that, and that might just move the defenders a little bit. The push is coming from Laundry. Out come the smoke canisters. A lot of work to be done here. Kozheka starts to get that diffuser down. Toxic Babes will force him away. Damage onto Rafal.
Oh no.
2 versus 4. The clock ticks away. BDS somehow hold on. And that just became a battle of utility at the end there. We had smoke canisters, we had Toxic Babe canisters, there were still Flores drones, Roteros screaming in there trying to have any impact they could, but BDS, they win that one by attrition and they get another round on the board.
I think what caught me a little bit there was the candelas going off were just nowhere near the actual engagement itself, and it looked like everyone on site was flashed out. I thought, that's it, they've done it, there's just no way they can respond. Now they rush in, they win gunfights, easy peasy. But no one moves. WTG was still coming down Laundry Stairs, for example. The guys in Freezer holding the angle until he made the call off. I'm ready. Let's make this happen. So your most important piece of utility in that round being the candelas not being used at the most critical moment was the small thing that kind of worked against them. A couple of good shots coming out of Rafal, for example, down inside of Laundry to pick off 1 or 2 members. That really just slowed, or took away the wind in the sails of Virtus.pro on that attack and brings us up to 2-2. It's back and forth on rounds, though. We spoke about this for Secret versus Unknights last week. It makes games so hard to predict with both sides showing strengths at different moments.
Well, it does. And, I come back to that point that I made originally about BDS, and I'm sure that, as always, when we throw an opinion out there, I'm sure that there was people out there, what are you talking about here? They're in second place, you're saying they look beatable. But are you telling me after 4 rounds that you'd be amazed if Virtus.pro took this game? Because I wouldn't. This could go absolutely anywhere, and that is the point that I was trying to make about BDS. The other teams in the league have got to be looking at this and thinking, there's a possibility here, there's at least a chance. Whereas, at other times in the past, you've never really felt like that because you just thought they were going to roll over you.
Look at Vitality earlier in the season. None of us predicted them coming into that game
Absolutely.
to beat BDS. I mean, sure, they beat BDS the next 2 games, then didn't do so well and lost both of those fixtures. So
it's what I love about EUL, though, and that's the real base point that I'm trying to make there is even first, second, third place, they're all beatable, and that's what I love about EUL is you never know. And right now, Virtus.pro, they've got BDS with the backs to the wall, and they're playing hard here, and they're playing for the win.
Upsets galore is the way to look at it. I love how many times, by the way, we touched on it in the previous fixture, actually, because we saw it once or twice going in through Trophy. The number of times we've seen Roteros caught out by mute jammers. I think last week it was in Virtus.pro versus Empire's game where we had not 1, but 2 Roteros drive into the same mute jammer on the 90-wall mute, and I was just like, surely you learn about it the first time. But the number of times it can catch them out unsuspectingly can be beautiful, so keep a close eye on where Pasha is sending these Roteros here and how many get themselves lodged inside of a mute jammer.
Well, that's one signalled out and exploding. WTG just very aware of the presence of Renshiro inside of security. I'm not sure if that hole on the side between kitchen there was a rotation. It is a rotation. I just only caught a glimpse of it as the camera rotated. But that will allow Renshiro to move out of there. He doesn't have to go through the barricade. I tell you what, he doesn't need to, Des. His bullets go through it and they connect with WTG. Nice headshot, and that is a flip reversal of the opening kill and death that we had in the last round. So Renshiro certainly not having any of that and looking to come back and pay out some punishment of his own.
Yeah, and this time, of course, no Ying on side for WTG was the Sophia that's taken away. Bit of utility in the back pocket. Still 2 Roteros on side for Pasha, so we'll see what the use case is for those as we get towards those final 60 seconds or so. Another kill coming through for BDS. That's 2 in the round, and the kind of pressure that you really want on side. It leaves it down to the 2 supports plus Pasha to make this one fly. Rask and Kozheka, all the work to do. As one pushes down through Attic. Just feels a little bit too cozy for BDS in this round, Ace, and I'm nervous for Virtus.pro.
I would be as well. I think it's always very difficult when you get into the final 40, 30 seconds here on a top floor attack if you don't have the man advantage. If you're coming in, even numbers or worse off, it is a struggle to break down this defence, and this is exactly what Virtus.pro are going to find now. They're going to be challenged from every single angle, and BDS can just sit deep inside of sight and wait for them to push in. Pasha manages to get a double, though, and that is a Lems and Brede biting the bullet and finding themselves on the wrong end of Pasha. Shaiko, however, steps up, and Renshiro with a big play on the flank here. He knows that Pasha's inside of Attic. 2 versus 2. Zeka manages to find one, starts to put the diffuser down. It's unlikely he succeeds. Renshiro and Foul close it out, and that is what I'm saying about that final 30-40 second push onto top floor. You can get the kills, but there's always somebody on the defence waiting even deeper. There's another line to get through, and it takes a real monumental effort to break it down, and Virtus.pro didn't quite have it in the tank that time.
Not quite fully, no, unfortunately. Pasha giving them a bit of a scare, I think, and bringing it up to a 3 versus 3, but the time had already ran away from them by that point. So BDS kind of recovering to a level, you'd say, with the 3 rounds, but you ideally want 4 coming out of this first half, I think is what they'll be gunning for here. Meeting Hall and Kitchen going to be where we step into, and then you've got the Echo on side, you've got the Mute and the Mozzie. That's a lot of information/information denial currently on the defensive side. And fair enough so, WTG being the current flex player for the team is the one that's going to bring across the IQ to help them hunt down those pesky yokais.
And hunt them down they will need to. We've seen how effective those yokai drones can be, particularly in the late round. For anybody unaware of Echo's gadget, it sends out a little stunning sort of shock, if you will. It's a little drone that can suction itself to the ceiling or any surface above it. It can be underneath a table. We see it used underneath pool tables and things like that quite often. It used to turn itself invisible. It used to have a cloaking device. When it attached itself to a surface, it would turn invisible, but it doesn't do that anymore, as it was a little bit powerful, a little bit oppressive, but they'll get them in positions where they can move them around. We've seen as well that drone being used much more like the attacker drones recently as well, sometimes going ahead of roamers. It's probably not something I would expect out of BDS too much. It goes along with a more aggressive roam game generally, but you'll get them out in front of your roamers and just try to feed information back into them about the push that's coming through.
We've got to talk about this vertical setup coming out of BDS here as well. I know for the longest time when this map first came out, there was a few theories that you could run a SSG Roam-esque sort of setup that you would see on something like the clubhouse basement. There is that kind of vibe coming out of BDS here where, sure, it's not the basement site, but it is the meeting site looking to defend it from above. They've got themselves a shield up there to help contest if someone tries to push in through the north door. So what that's going to do is force Virtus.pro to have to come in and start storming the site, and that's exactly what they've done. Not even the site, sorry, more the top side of the map. WTG stepping in and getting Shaiko, who was completely unaware of his presence or what he was going for. And like that, this BDS defensive setup may have just been completely rattled. They get rid of Rafal here as well. It's absolute disaster for BDS.
Third opening kill for WTG. He's having a great day on the entry there. And honestly, I think that just came down to the speed and confidence of his movement, Des. He just got himself straight up there into dorms, and Shaiko just wasn't even prepared for being challenged 35, 40 seconds into the round. Great second from WTG onto Elems, leaving us now 5 versus 3. Rafal, the final hope of the top floor, gets ripped out of his position by Miller. And that's going to leave us now 5 versus 2. It's all down to Renshiro and Brede.
Phenomenal effort coming out of VP. Another one from above. They've used the position against them. He had to play on the wrong side of the shield, got pushed from the north. Incredible stuff, and so much of it, as you say, coming off the back of WTG. Brede can do nothing to hold on solo there in the 1 versus 4. That is a beautiful response coming out of VP, identifying what needs to be done and just absolutely shutting BDS down before they can do anything about it.
Virtus.pro then move on to the defence. It's a split half, 3-3. We come out with even Stevens at the halfway mark. Now, I look at that, Des, and I think on Virtus.pro's performance so far, I look at it and I think, can they take a half 4-2 on the defence of Oregon?
Yeah.
I would expect so. Can they lock down Laundry and Dorms? That's all they need to do. Don't worry about the third site. It's not important. Just lock down your main sites of Laundry and Dorms, and that's it. You've won. You've beaten BDS. You've beaten second place, and you've got yourself up the table.
Imagine. Imagine, because this is one of the games that we looked at today when we were all sat around doing our predictions before the show, and we were like, BDS, surely they walk over Virtus.pro. There wasn't even a conversation or a debate about it. It was just, BDS. And as it stands, Virtus.pro have turned up ready to play. I touched back again on that previous fixture I spoke about when Rogue played BDS on this map. Rogue weren't, super high flying at the time. We thought the BDS would beat Rogue, but alas, they came with a couple of counter strats prepped and did show BDS what it's like to play in Oregon against a team that knows how to beat you. So there's some work to be done here for BDS in the second half to be a bit unpredictable potentially. And for Virtus.pro, they're the ones who are going to have to hold off against the onslaught of BDS, because if I know these boys like anything else, they have unbelievable potency to jump in through a window, kill 2 or 3 people, and end the round there and then.
That is the problem with BDS on attack, of course. That's what you've got to be able to prevent them doing, is just coming in and winning on sheer gun skill towards the end of the rounds. Now, we can see that Rask has got himself playing inside a small tower there, and I'm a little bit concerned, as I think BDS know exactly where he is, and it could be problematic, although Renshiro does move away there. The problem with Rask's position is that he's largely got himself cornered. It's very difficult to get out of there alive. So needs to be very, very careful up there. He's got a lot of BDS action going on around him, and that would be a little bit of a concern for me. He could well be very easily pinched here.
I'm very nervous because he hasn't got loads of stuff stacked around him. Normally, like we saw Sloth in there in the previous game, we saw Leon with his 3k C4 in the prior week. They had frost mats, ADSs, mute jammers, shields, everything to support them. And sure enough, it's Pasha finding Shaiko kicking things off. But again, we need to see support coming in for him up there, I think, and it's currently Pasha holding off on the south side, looking to give some support. Milan springs out from Big Tower and misses an absolute sitter onto Alems, who walks away with 50% HP.
He'll be kicking himself there, but still the damage done is solid nonetheless. Now Rask, he takes a little peek, tries to be a rascal, but won't get away with it. Just held by Rafal, who finally gets that kill. And honestly, that was the only way that I saw Rask getting out of that situation, and that was in a box, Des, because he just left himself in a difficult corner to battle out of and only wasted about half of the round. So positives, negatives to his position up there, but one way or another, Pasha's making up for it. Gets himself another. That's 2 in the round, 4 versus 3, and Virtus.pro are still looking good on the defence, because what you got to remember, all this noise, all this action, not one bit of it has been in the sight so far. It's
all been around it, and they force Rafal's 2 frag grenades coming out. Rafal finding a second, even though he got held up on small tower for a while, he still made his presence known beyond that point as we hit that final 60-second mark. 2 kills for himself in the round. I guess my slight concern is for the side of BDS, there's only 1 drone remaining, and it is on Brede here. That's fine. He's your support player. It's what you come to expect. But as that clock runs lower, they might need some walls open, for example, the one at the bottom of Elbow. Elbow hasn't been touched. Will be removed now thanks to the Retiro coming in. However, WTG may just sit and hold. He's still got 1 smoke canister to play behind, and in the final 30 seconds, this is where it's really going to start stacking up for BDS. Bails out of playing Elbow, but now what do? Brede's got to get the wall open. They've got to get north side control. You've still got Milan and Karjeka lurking around. They've got so much to do despite the evens in numbers.
Rafal's pushing Laundry, but I think WTG knows here. The door's barricaded. As soon as he takes his shots, no, somehow Rafal is aware of the presence of the man. Brede finds a headshot onto Karjeka, and all of a sudden BDS, they just spin this round on its head, and they manage to get themselves into a position to get the diffuser down, which Brede will do successfully. Milan shut down by the man after activating that diffuser, and what a round from BDS. Got to hand it to them there. It was a slow start from them. I'm not sure that really what Rask gained out of time wasted over in small tower was really enough to throw your life away by playing in a corner like that. He never had a choice to escape from that, and Rafal did extremely well to get that kill, move through, get himself a second onto Aroma, and that just really opened things up for them.
And bearing in mind, this is one of your support players. This isn't Shaiko, it isn't Renshiro, it isn't Alems. It's one of your support players.
Rafal's had a great stage.
He has. Honestly, every single time we look at the standings for BDS, go on to CGG, click competitions at the top and pull up the last 5 or 6 competitions that BDS have played in. I guarantee you're going to have seen all of these players in one stage or another, or one competition or another. They will be top rated. The whole team is special is the only way I can look at it. And the only reason why players aren't consistently top rated is because someone else on the team has played their absolute brains out. And I've got to touch on it again in that round. 3 versus 3. 20 seconds to play. No control inside the map. Milan was still on the north side. They had no one inside of Elbow anymore because that had been reinforced off. Laundry was still barricaded up. If you remove all the name tags and showed anyone in the siege scene, right, who wins this round given all those conditions just described? There is no way on earth that you say the attackers. But BDS are the kind of team that can take the ball by the horns, get 2 kills in the closing moments and get the plant down, and your planter then gets the closing kill. Show me another team that can do things like that consistently.
The big kill for me that opened it up was Rafal's kill at the bottom of Laundry stairs through the barricade.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, we harp on, we go on and on about drones and how important, well, you could say, Des, that we drone on about it.
Add that to my list. They had 1 drone. 1 drone left, Ace.
But the information was there, Des, and that's why it's so important, because Rafal knew exactly where WTG was playing, and he was able to get the kill through there onto him. You know, that is just... It just shows why information is so important in this game, because it was the real catalyst for BDS to go on and take the round, especially with the kill coming in from Brede at the opposite side of the site as well. But we head into round 8. We're going to be looking at dorms here. We've got BDS looking to get inside of the map, not too aggressively. We're a minute in. They're still drawing, being careful, and that's no surprise, Des, because I've just had a look back. 7 rounds, 6 opening kills for Virtus.pro.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But yet BDS is still in the lead.
Yeah, yet they're at 4-3.
BDS play extremely well, even from a man disadvantage.
I said it earlier on. They can just find a round where someone vaults in a window and kills 3 people and BDS win the round. It's terrifying. I know I always reference it, and people are going to be so sick and tired of me saying this, but that TSM game at SI, the one round where Alems jumps in through a double window and kills 4 people and wins BDS a round that they should not have won, really just cemented for me that identity for BDS, where even when the chips are down, you just cannot count any single player on that lineup out. Let's see, though, how round number 8 plays out. We saw Pasha looking to get a little bit cheeky. The same can be said for Rask. So they aren't looking to give a free ride of this to BDS. They aren't being passive like BDS are on their defences. They've looked to get off the site, poke their heads out through Trophy, look to give them something to think about there, or a case to pause and re-drone, slow them down, burn the clock. Yet BDS are still stepping their way forward. No one lost on side yet. Starting to get control of what they need, but Ace, I'll pull it back again. Final 60 seconds, 5 versus 5. Drones are slowly starting to run out for the side of BDS. On paper, you give this current advantage situation to Virtus.pro.
I'm interested to see that the wall from closet into games was actually opened without any. We've got 2 impacts still on the board. There's been no attempt to try and impact trick that exothermic charge to try and keep that wall open.
I think that's because they opened the hole below, though, and if you step forward, probably get shot.
It may well be that, you know, it doesn't really matter come the end of things, but Alems has got himself established inside of Attic and nearly managed to find himself a kill, but Rask is moving up the stairs. They're completely unaware. It's an absolute freebie for Rask, and Kozheka gets one to get involved as well. 3 versus 2, 13 seconds left to go. Brede is in a position to potentially put the diffuser down, but he dips away from it. He knows he's got to take fights first. Goes into dorms through the attic, rotate, shut down surely as the man just swings side to side. WTG ultimately able to use the power of the shotgun to put the final man down, and that levels us out 4-4 now. And this is an unbelievable matchup between BDS and Virtus.pro.
Oh, why does it just go back and forth so much every single playday? There's a game like this that you look at on paper and go, oh, okay, probably isn't going to be that good or be a bit one-sided, and then this kind of thing kicks off. It was the same with G2 Vitality last week. We did expect it to be good, just didn't know it'd be as good as it actually turned out to be. And you may wager the same for the final game of Secret coming up against Unknights. 4-4, and I thought for a second Virtus.pro had that one in the bag. Maybe if Rafala died outside, hadn't got the kill outside, then maybe something different plays out there anyway. But Brede's left in the 1 versus 3, and Virtus.pro had done enough work to run the clock down. I keep on speaking about this. Step into Trophy, spray a drone or true, cause BDS to slow down, pause and re-drone again. It works wonders for them. Basement's going to be there where we head next. And Rask, on this side at the very least, has got hold of that Kaid. Rafal, as always, is on the Maverick. So, shouldn't really be a big concern for them. Any electrified hatches they come across should be pretty comfortable to deal with.
WTG's played the deployable shield that way around a couple of times. I'm interested to know if there's anything particular in that.
Oh, I can tell you the answer to that one. That's because physics, my friend. Think about it this way. When it's positioned like normally, the slats are further away from you because you can't get close on the inside of the shield,
true.
right? Whereas when it's reversed, you can basically do what Kozheka does to his monitor and get your eyeballs right up in them slats.
It must be pixel. I mean,
honestly,
it's important. It shows, you know, the difference of these games is in pixels.
Oh, yeah.
It is measured in pixels. But that must be the difference that we're talking about for visibility.
Oh, no, it absolutely is. A few teams have been doing it over the last year or so, but that is the one. If ever you see that and you see a reverse shield, just know it's because you get a much better angle looking through onto the slats on the way through. And I guess, I don't really know exactly how impactful this will be, but say, for example, Ash was still in the meta. Her breaching rounds have got to go ever so slightly deeper and at risk of being caught by an ADS to catch the shield to fully destroy it. It's unlikely.
Absolute fraction.
But say, for example, it catches the front pixel of the shield where normally it might miss. That could be the world of difference. You just don't know. I haven't tested that. That sounds like something me and you should jump into a custom and go and find out at some point this weekend.
It certainly does. But
we're doing it.
It really does show the fractions that we are dealing with here at the professional level of Siege. Now, 45 seconds into round 9. Virtus.pro defending that bottom site once again. Last time it did come down to a flurry of kills for BDS towards the end of the round, and BDS haven't necessarily dealt with the roamers all too well so far. I think Virtus.pro have had some success. We saw it from Rask in the last round, particularly on the Valkyrie, moving up rear stage and hitting Alems inside of Attic, and so that's something that BDS certainly need to be aware of. But as you say, they do have that innate ability to just get in there in that last 15-20 seconds, doors and crowbar open a round that should otherwise be closed to them. And talking about closed to them, you're absolutely right, Des. The laundry hatch is closed because the mute jammer placed on the washing machine directly underneath.
Yep, so the exothermic cannot go off. A good old throwback to the old school ways of this basement. Yep.
Love it.
Love it. One of my favourite ones to drop down in ranked because it slows people down for a short while. However, you call a Maverick over.
20 seconds there, though.
This is the thing I was just about to say, but look at it this way. In the same way in the previous round, I was bigging up Pasha for stepping out into trophy and spraying down some drones. Similar story in this round. You're constantly putting up little like traps. It's like trying to run through a pyramid or something and there's constantly spike traps coming out at you and things trying to kill you as you step the way through. BDS are just being slowed down time and time again to the stage. They've got about 15 seconds to push with, and that's when Virtus.pro spring a Rask flank on them or something else, or in this case, a trade between Shaiko and Rask. Wait, are they out? He's out of gas, I think, and he can't open it, I don't think. Did I just see that right? He's out of gas. Oh, okay. Meeting staying closed.
So now, are these hatches open on a percentage?
Look how much he had left. He's got the tiniest...
Well, it's a percentage of damage, so you've only got to get a certain percent. But Des, remember what he had to do with that Maverick blowtorch
to
clear the mute jammer.
Small fractions at ice.
And that could well be the difference between that meeting hatch being opened, the nades being able to pour into pillars and to disrupt the Virtus.pro players in there. 20 seconds left to go, and they've still got men established. Kajeka and Milon holding down the rear stage now, where otherwise they may well have been moved off. WTG uses that final Toxic Babe canister to try and hold them back. Milon, Pasha, Kajeka, all from that rear stage area, Des, that they were unable to clear out because of a meeting hatch that couldn't be opened. Unbelievable. Great plays from Virtus.pro, and that, as I say, is a perfect example of the fine margins that we are working with.
I feel like we're half speaking a story into existence here, Ace. We keep on talking about, again, the small differences in these rounds, the small things, like the one you caught there at the end. Tiny bit of that blowtorch gas used to shoot out the mute jammer down through the laundry hatch. If that was onside, good chance the meeting hatch gets
it can't have been far away. It's just a percentage of damage on the hatches for the Maverick blowtorch, and it'll open. So it really can't have been too far away, given that near enough the entire edge of it had been burnt out.
Absolutely crazy. We saw the same for G2 on Chalet last week, if you recall. The tiniest little slither.
There was the tiniest little bit that was just left over.
The office wall, that was on Chalet. These things happen, but 2 in 2 weeks? Not very often you get to see that. Going to be dining in kitchen for round number 10. Virtus.pro currently sit in the lead at 5-4. If you're just tuning in, you're probably wondering what the bloody hell is going on. Well, the first half closed out at 3-3, I believe, and since then it has been pretty back and forth. 1-for-1 the whole way through until Virtus.pro have now pulled ahead from where they were previously down 4-3.
So they're going to be going to kitchen and dining this time around. So again, a focus towards small tower, I would expect. We saw Rask playing on the top floor of small tower, but it was actually for a laundry defense when we saw him up there. It was just a time-wasting tactic, maybe take a kill or two with you. He didn't manage to. Rafal was able to shut him down, and it wasn't impactful enough to stop BDS winning the round in question. But this time around, they may choose to commit him there again to prevent access to those vertical angles for BDS, but it doesn't look like there is anybody playing up there. Whilst BDS, they're heading in towards Big Tower for the time being. They're going to want to move through Attic, I would imagine, potentially, to clear out anybody playing inside of dorms, because, of course, that is the vertical angle that the defenders will usually try to keep hold of.
I love all the creative cams we've seen lately, by the way.
I love a good Valkyrie. You know I love a good Valkyrie cam.
Oh, well, I remember G2's got a really good one on Clubhouse Basement, where on the stairs that go down to the basement, there's like the little torches on the wall, and they hide it just behind it, where you don't like immediately see it unless you're looking for it. And what I do love is the team they played against, I forget who it was on Clubhouse most recently, they must have gone back and watched the VOD, because in the prior week, those cameras were never destroyed. But in that next week, every single round, drones beeline straight for those stairs, pinged out the cams, and the team straight away was getting rid of them. So it just goes to show you constantly having to innovate and come up with new ideas. Alem's dangerously close to the head of someone else, or at least the pixels downstairs below.
WTG
and he gets shut down by WTG. Yet another entry. Not a player that we look at and say, oh, he's the entry for the team, normally playing a much more supportive role. And it's not like he's playing a Jaeger here. That pleasure is afforded to Rask and Kajeka being on the Aruni. Yet still, he keeps on finding these entries.
I've missed 2 rounds. WTG is on at least 4 entry kills at the minute, going fantastically well, and only 1 death as far as I know. So it's a great start to most rounds for WTG, and it really is powering his team towards the finish line in the majority of these rounds.
I've never seen that before. Impact coming out from below up onto the wall that faces inside of kids to destroy the exothermic on it.
Makes
Beautiful.
perfect sense.
Yeah, total sense. Never seen it before. I'm used to seeing C4s, but never impacts coming up. Wonderful stuff. 1 exothermic on side, and really, they're looking at that to actually open the wall from meeting. That can't happen if they have to blow the top wall. So, again, more problems being created by Virtus.pro.
But more solutions being found in the form of kills for BDS. We know that that is their go-to answer when utility, when hard breaching, when anything else in a round becomes a problem. Send in the guns. Shaiko, he manages to get 1, 4 versus 4, but they're going to have to start finding a few more if they want to put round 10 on the board. Virtus.pro, of course, at this point fighting for match point.
Muted? Can we look at this wall for a second? No, it's not. Okay,
it's been cleared off. They've got the mute jammer cleared off, so that is going to be access to site gained. Oh, Rask misses his opportunity there. Nearly gets an absolute freebie onto Renshiro, who is now just a breath away from death. Shaiko finds the man in showers, shuts him down. Headshot onto Gajeka. Brede gets that diffuser down. It's all going to BDS. They just throw men at it, and they manage to find 4 for Shaiko. Could it be an ace? He needs 1 more. He needs Rask, who's looking to move himself into kitchen. 2 kills for him, and 24 seconds to find them to leave himself enough time to disable that activated diffuser. Now Shaiko, he's holding himself inside of security and surely knows that the man is in kitchen now. He's not going to make the challenge unless he absolutely has to. Rask, he's just trying to find anything that he can here. 10 seconds left to go. He needs to make a move.
Too late.
He's going to push through into meeting. Surely he can't do this. He takes shots at Shaiko. Will not find the man. This is all about whether Shaiko gets his ace or not now, to be honest. As the battle continues into security, Ras circles around on the pistol. Finds the man just about to end the possibility of an ace for Shaiko, but it doesn't matter. The round is done for BDS. They've got what they needed, but 7 kills between Rask and Shaiko in that round.
I mean, look at the situation again. 20 seconds on the clock. BDS only just getting the wall opened up, and suddenly Shaiko decides, we're not allowed to lose this round. Rolled on that 20. We have to win the round. Walks in, 3 kills for himself. Everyone on the site is shut down. He's got control of security. Renshiro's holding split. Everything you need for them there and more in that round. Those, again, are the big kind of rounds that will always do BDS massive favours. 5 and 5 they sit at. Kid Storm's going to be where we head to for round number 11. Now, Lem's coming in on the buck. This is a really kind of not so much old school pick coming out of BDS, but it was for the longest time banned against them as well, where often what they do on these upstairs sites is start out in small tower, work their way across, destroy the vast majority of the floor inside of site, again to the stage that teams were like, that is just such a good setup for them. We're going to ban it away and remove the threat altogether. And I think for Alems, in a game where he's currently 2 and 9, very uncharacteristic for Alems, for him to get on a roll that can still help the team like that and destroy all this flooring from below, makes total sense to me.
Round number 11, it is then Virtus.pro. They're going to be desperate to get themselves a match point opportunity. They've played this one really well. BDS, never an easy side to break down. I'd commented throughout that they have looked beatable. We said this, Kavana taking them all the way to 7-5. Virtus.pro will at least take them to 7-5 here, even if BDS are to win the next 2 rounds. They're certainly being stretched in these play days, but Virtus.pro, they're not going to be happy with stretching, Des. They're going to want to get this one locked down. They want points on the board, and they want to get a big scalp here with an upset against BDS.
I think as Hap said, right, they just need 1 point from this game and they are secured for the Mexico Major. They'll be on 17 points. Does that work out? No, because they lost the heads against Vitality. So they need to get 2 points from this match, I believe. Vitality have got still 2 games to play. They're on 11 points. If they win those 2 games and get to 17 points, which BDS would be if they got a single point from this game, Vitality win the head-to-head because they beat them earlier in the season. That will be really spicy if it's BDS slipping down the ranks, they lose to Na'Vi next week, and Vitality steal the spot away from BDS. You can't imagine a major where BDS aren't present.
Absolutely not. You look at the hopes of EU, and it is one of the teams that we usually pin those hopes to, that we know that BDS can go in there and make a challenge of anybody. Now, Rask, he does get identified inside of the kitchen there by the drone that moves in. Shaiko just using those nades from outside, looking to put some pressure from underneath, but good shots from Rask there just to take a little bit of chip damage off Shaiko, almost down to half health. He's going to continue fighting, but the pressure could come from multiple angles if he's not too careful, because the Gemini clone is just going in. It actually moved moving down freezer stairs. I'm not sure if there's going to be an attempt to move in through security. Shaiko's just certainly thinking about it here. He's more interested in those vertical angles though, Des.
That is so cheeky. Try and step up with the frag in hand to catch the man who's holding the reverse angle through the floor as well to support Raskin here, but the grenade doesn't quite do what was intended, and that would have been to finish off someone on the other side. Again, problems being created by Virtus.pro. 1 minute and 10 still to play here. Still, 5 versus 5 is worth mentioning too. And here we go. It's about that buck I was mentioning earlier on. All the work done from small tower, sweeping its way across to open up key holes, and then start to assault into white. That's a great shot coming out of Alems.
Rask opens things up to begin with onto Renshiro, but it is Alems that levels things up almost immediately. Pasha was holding a beautiful angle there. Rask was able to focus solely on dining door because Pasha actually had an angle onto security door from above, and it was just beautiful team play of how those crossfires and cover can be established. Now Kozheka coming up to the top of Armory stairs there. Pasha very low health at the minute. He's just trying to do anything he can with his life. WTG finds a beautiful kill on the drop onto Alems, and in comes the shotgun and puts Breedy down. Shaiko finds a kill onto Wrath, 2 versus 2 as he goes down. This is the Shaiko show right now. Rafal, he is but a side act in what has been Shaiko dominance over the last couple of rounds. Rafal goes to get the diffuser down, but he's upstaged him. He has got that final kill out from under Shaiko and manages to get a big double at the end there when BDS need it, and that's going to give them the opportunity to close this out in regulation.
I thought WTG had done enough. He got the kill, dropping down through the hatch for 1, steps into security, shotguns out the man vaulting in. A second one he didn't know was coming in just after him as well. And I thought, oh, he's done it here, he's done it. But Shaiko wins the 1 versus 1, sprints up the stairs. Rafal comes off the plant to kill the man coming to press him. It's like I mentioned, you just cannot count any single member of this BDS team out until they are literally dead and out the round.
You cannot, and that's the big factor. That is, how do you play against that? It's not like you can spend an extra couple of hours reviewing VODs.
Just pull the mouse out the USB socket. It's the only way you're going to do it.
That's literally all that you can do. There's very little that you can play in against that. I love the way that Virtus.pro have been playing. I picked up on it at the time, but that cover from Pasha onto Rask so that Rask didn't need to worry about security, could just focus on that one angle. Virtus.pro have been playing it really, really well. They've been covering each other. But when Shaiko's going to run in and get 3 kills and open you up, there's only so much you can do about that.
What'll be really sad is I know
it's like playing against you in ranked, Des. The Shaiko of ranked.
I wish I was as good as Shaiko in ranked. I was like, is he just straight up trolling me here?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thought as much. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those again where if BDS win this, it goes 7-5 now. The history books will remember BDS beat Virtus.pro 7-5, another great game for BDS. Whereas again, the way I described this both last week and to you before the pre-show was this is like playing against Manchester United back in the old day in the Premier League, where it's 0-0 at 90 minutes. They've parked the bus. They haven't really been particularly creative. And they nick a goal on the 93rd minute to take all 3 points. And you think, we have been absolutely robbed. And knowing how well Virtus.pro have played today, not that BDS have played badly, but just how well and how creative Virtus.pro have been today, for them to lose this game and walk away with nothing would be a real kick in the teeth.
It really would for them, and you know, you look at the overtime system that we've got, and if they can get if they can get this round and take themselves into that overtime, finally finding the Twitch drone of Alems there.
Nothing gives the anxiety more in this game than things like that. When there's an attacker chasing your drone down, you're just like, get me away, and you can't quite get away.
You're jumping. I mean, obviously Alems wasn't; he was on the shock drone, but you're jumping, you're weaving, you're trying to get to that drone hole or under the barricade, just anything you can to try and get away from it. And you're just hoping that whoever's on the other end can't shoot, but unfortunately for Alems, WTG has shown that he certainly can do today and manages to find, I think it was WTG or maybe Milon, manages to find that drone. So this is going to be potentially our final round here, Des. It's down in laundry and basement, and it'd be a tough argument to be able to say that Virtus.pro don't deserve something out of this game. They've had some absolutely wonderful rounds. It's been fantastic siege to watch. It's been enjoyable and entertaining, but That's just not how competitive Siege goes, and that might not be an important factor. The ADS taken off the wall by the nade there, somewhat unusually. It didn't quite reach far enough for the ADS to pick it up, but the explosion certainly did. The second nade goes in and will clear out the deployable shield of WTG, all within 50 seconds, Des. That's a lot of utility gone on elbow for a bunker push.
Here we go, Shaiko find the opening kill as well through smoke, through a man with a shotgun, and still brings down WTG. Here comes the new challenger. It's Pasha stepping up with a shotgun of his own. Does Shaiko feel lucky today, Punk? Can it be two? Grenade in hand as well, and they hear the pull of the pin. They're both like, get the hell out of here! We don't want to deal with that one. He thought someone following in aggressively, but no one's going to step in straight behind it. So, all things back to square one. It's going to be a shotgun player holding down Shaiko and daring him to step forward, and Shaiko fancying his chances of getting a second.
Pasha's still holding this angle. In comes the drone, but he's absolutely not moving here. Doesn't adjust his stance. He's just waiting for that push to come that he knows inevitably will. You can see the sort of fear, the tenseness in that Gemini drone just moving in. Doesn't bait the shot from Pasha. He keeps himself laser focused on that wall, that double door, knowing exactly where the pressure's going to come from. And that is a beautiful bait. Pasha just holds the angle and just draws Shaiko in, but no, it's Rask on the long angle with the headshot.
Beautiful stuff as well. Just pre-firing as well. Like, bip, 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 bip. Oh, there's a head there.
I love it.
Really well played. Pasha now being smoked out. He's engulfed. Does he just start spraying with the shotgun is the big question. Does he know whether or not they'll come coming in? The man's been patient as a saint, and that is not going to change. C4 came out, but no one has stepped in through the door. BDS being held up here outside of construction with the 4 versus 4 to go and 45 seconds still to play. LM's the only one who's really been moving around the map. Everyone else looking to push through construction down towards elbow. Shot coming out from Rasted. Takes the second in the round. The two big raid bosses gone in Lems and Shaiko. 4 versus 3, and VP should not be able to lose this ace.
Virtus.pro keep fighting. 30 seconds left to go. They've got the heels dug in, and they just need to hang on here, Des. 24 seconds left to go. Time is ticking away. Renshiro gets himself inside of Electrical. He's looking to get aggressive, but he can't find anybody. Virtus.pro, they've got themselves hidden away as much as they can. Milon just inside of the freezer there, but Brede, he's got himself in a position to get the diffuser down. The Kaid could potentially think about the Nitro, but doesn't need to, as the triple kill comes in. And Virtus.pro, they keep fighting. They take us to overtime, and they say, we are having something from this game one way or another, because we have poured too many blood, sweat and tears into this to come away empty-handed.
It's insane how back and forth it has been. Round to round, we've seen both teams show those moments of brilliance, and we said if it went 7-5, you'd feel a little bit cheated, or a little bit sorry at least for Virtus.pro. At 6-6 though, we get potentially 3 more rounds of the madness. Let's see how it shapes out. Virtus.pro starting things off on defense are going to head down into the basement, where VDS, at least on their defensive side, didn't look so hot. They did get stung on the attack by not being able to get the meeting hatch opened up, but as we've seen now a couple of times, they can get absolutely slammed when it comes to trying to push in solely through blue. We'll see what Virtus.pro can do to disrupt them. The Jackal being brought along by Lems there. I think as a security measure, they don't want to deal with Ras running right on that Valkyrie as he has done prior.
The thing is, we look at this and you look at the starting sides and you say, I mean, there's no direct advantage to be found. It's been 3-0 on either half, so you would say, you know, both teams very even, attack and defence. However, the thing that you've got to remember is that Virtus.pro now get their primary site choices, and that maybe plays into it a little bit, but I am looking for absolute fractions of advantage here. But this has been, as we've said, Des, a game of fractions, a game of millimetres, a game of pixels so far. We've seen it on a number of occasions, and I mean, it all comes down to a perfect example being that Rask shot. I've got to come back to that kill. It was just absolutely wonderful. Pasha just holding that tight angle on the wall, and just all the focus was on him. The Gemini drone coming in, and just everything was about playing onto Pasha, and he just completely baited them into the line of sight of Rask and just took their eye away from the ball.
VP just reinforced I was going to say, I thought they reinforced the second when I saw the animation going off, and I was like, surely not. It was just a late reinforce on the single wall here. All right, so a little bit late to the setup in a way, but they've got everything done that they need to be done here. Electrified hatch once again, no doubt a mute jammer looking onto the laundry hatch. Again, look out for all these little traps that they keep on springing on BDS here to slow them down, force them to spend 20 seconds rotating Rafale somewhere, or bring in a frag grenade to clear something out. There's always something else to slow them down, and that'll be the big difference maker come the final execute.
Definitely something that Virtus.pro have done a great job of, as you say, is just those little plays to waste 15-20 seconds here and there, whether it be a mute jammer or whether it be a roamer. But Lem's right now moving around confidently with the Inox scanner down, just Very keen to make sure that everything is clear for them. Milan it will be who gets picked up by those Jackal tracks, but it won't really matter as he is in exactly the position. You could have asked where Jaeger would be playing and you would have guessed he's going to be playing in at Pillars, and that's exactly where Milan is now. A little bit of pressure coming in through bunker. There's 3 bodies that are ready to push there. There is a drone just feeding information as well, but the shield is still in place for WTG. It will be moved now, I'm sure, as that nade goes off. It does get it. WTG just tries to hold that tight angle, the same as Rascu's this time with the SMG. Won't be as easy a challenge, and this time it won't be onto Shaiko as he's looking to be the man to push Laundry stairs.
It's all about that time. For BDS at least, Elbow cleared a little bit quicker than prior. You could see again for Virtus.pro how constantly WTG is wanting to step back out into Elbow, even without the shield or without any ADSs there to support. He was like, okay, they've gone through the frags now. I know it's coming down to either me and my smokes or down to them simply rounding that corner and doming me in the head. He's still here, Ace. Doesn't matter. He's not scared like other teams would be where they back away as soon as the shield goes. They're constantly pressing, and Pasha is going to get the opener onto Rafal. A second from Karjeka comes in onto the big tower. 5 versus 3 with 50 seconds to play. Sure, it's a lot of time, but for Virtus.pro, having a numbers advantage like this and a stalled out BDS is the absolute dream.
It really is. 45 seconds left to go, and that man Shaiko is looking to push from rear stage. 2 big kills coming. Brede and Renshiro, and this is exactly what you've said, Des. Every single member of this team is capable of these moments. Shaiko goes over the handrail, like he goes over the top rope and comes down with an elbow onto Karjeka to take him out of the round. 2 versus 1 now. It's all down to Rask, but he is a player that is equally capable of closing this out. He's got full health. He's looking to creep down, make any sort of impact he can from inside the supply. He sees one, he gets one, he gets 2! Rask with a massive clutch at the end of round 13 to put VP onto match point, and they will not quit.
Shaiko winning the impossible 2K, it felt like, over the banister, down onto the ground to get the 2K on Big Tower, only for Rask to come out and do just that. It's funny, because I remember last week we saw Shaiko drop, 18, 20 kills on the map? And then Rask's like, well, I can do better than that, and comes and drops like 21 with a phenomenal roam game coming out against, I believe it was Rogue, because it was Crying in the first half, who had a great time, but Rask, who really popped off in that game. And now the 2 juggernauts have kind of come head to head. You've seen it from the 2 of them there. Shaiko breaking what looked like the impossible hold to the north. Rask clutching out the 1 versus 2. One more round, and we arguably have the greatest upset of the day happening here between BDS and Virtus.pro.
Round 14, we're going back down to Laundry for BDS to defend. Now, they've defended this site 3 times in their defensive half, Des, and I can see from the look on your face, you remember exactly how they went. Virtus.pro were able to win 2 of them out of 3 on their attack, and to be honest, the rounds that they won were decimation. They were going in there and just getting kill after kill, chaining the pain together, and BDS didn't really have much of an answer. Now, Virtus.pro, they're going to bounce into this round. They've got the opportunity that they have fought tooth and nail for so far through this game. This is not going to be an easy round for BDS to win.
Oh, you know, the most important part of all, Ace, what did we keep on talking about on these basement sites? What was the constant cat and mouse that I mentioned earlier on? It was the Warden and the Ying. What's on side, Ace, for Virtus.pro?
It's the Ying.
And what's not on side for BDS?
The Warden.
Absolutely. So let's see those Candelas put to good use. They had one excellent use through the meeting hatch. One that wasn't so good. I called it at the time. It was 2 or 3 seconds too soon. Didn't really have an impact on the actual execute itself. So all eyes are on WTG. Phenomenal game so far, and this is his time to shine to help the team pull off an incredible execute and defeat BDS 8-6.
Once again, quick progress into the map from Virtus.pro. They've moved in confidently when they've been attacking this site every single time, and it's likely because they know there's not going to be a big roam presence. They picked up Renshiro in the security corridor just once. Other than that, there has been no resistance from BDS for Virtus.pro coming in and taking map control apart from the site. Now then, Shaiko a little bit slow on the draw there, and the Rotero drone is going to clear off that utility from the rear stage stairs, so that is a good early step for Virtus.pro. 1 minute 10 in, and the Rotero drones are doing their job at clearing that utility.
There's no mute jammer below this time round to stop them getting this opened up for free, which it shall be done. 100 seconds still to play with here, and I'm wondering if we're going to see those Candelas come singing in from this hatch as they did prior. WTG then bolted it down Laundry, and that's when the execute really got underway. It was a little bit messy for Virtus.pro in that round, but I'm hoping here they've learned from those prior mistakes. All the hatches now being opened up inside 90 seconds. They've got the things open they need to. Now it's a question of what order of utility do they want to burn through here, including their 4 smokes, don't forget, to make this shine.
1 minute 15 left to go, 5 versus 5. A little bit tentative so far through this one. Nobody wanting to be that first death. Nobody wanting to throw a life or indeed an advantage away here in round 14. Especially not BDS, because of course this round is all that Virtus.pro need to take the 2 points here.
Oh.
That's a great peek from Shaiko, just getting cheeky up onto the rear stage stairs and finding Milon wanting with absolutely no answer to the question that Shaiko asked of him. 5 versus 4 now, 40 seconds left to go, and here comes the push from Virtus.pro. They have no choice. Out goes the Candela. WTG follows it in, gets 1, surely can find a second. No, he misses his shots. It's 3 versus 2 though, as Kajeka and Pasha find theirs.
They've got all the way through. Brede still holding him with 2 smokes, and they've got past him. They've got past the Nightman's watch down at the bottom of Elbow. This should be a 15 seconds to play with. VP, they've got the chance to make it happen, but you're against 2 big players here. The support players, the back line for BDS have been phenomenal the whole game long. Smoke coming out. They've got to push in. They've got to go aggressive. Find the 1. Can they get the next? Rafal finds 2. It's a 1 versus 1. Finds the last. How does this happen? Time and time again. 3K from Rafal. We're going to 15.
What is happening in this game? This is unbelievable. 2 massive clutches, some of the biggest you will see this stage, have all happened in the same game on match points to keep teams in it. First it was Virtus.pro, now it's BDS, and now we are going to round 15.
It's hot enough in Paris without more heart-throbbing things like this. It's unbelievable.
I've got my short sleeves on and everything today.
You came prepared today. I didn't. I came with the rolled-up sleeve sort of vibe.
I knew there was going to be some heat.
Oh, my life. You just know it. It deserves the full 15 as well. Because, again, the brilliance that we've seen from Virtus.pro, the creativity, but the clutch capacity coming out of BDS time and time again has been phenomenal. That 1 versus 3 for Rafal. Oh, you'll be seeing that one on Twitter very soon. I guarantee you of that. Right. Final defense. Virtus.pro, second floor. BDS again bringing out the Jackal. On the other side, nothing really worth shouting home about our wager, but we all know it comes down to the execution. I remind you, the last time we played on this site, Pasha on the Jaeger was the one constantly stepping out inside a trophy, looking to contest down towards the south side inside of Master itself. And just in case you missed it, the 2 spray down. And the shots came back as well. He even took a bullet. And they knew that he was on the south side, but with only 3 seconds left, Kajeka, he had no choice. He had to go that aggressive for that.
Very little that he could do to play that differently. As you say, the man could easily have pushed onto the rotation, had he moved quickly across there, so there wasn't really much for it. At that point, the Kajeka 1v1 is not the question to ask. The 3v1 is the question that needs to be asked.
Absolutely.
Short time or not, those first 2 kills that come in, that is what facilitates Rafal in closing out that round.
And like, the plan there as well wasn't to take control of Laundry. They just wanted to get inside and plant inside a supply. That's why all guns were focused in there. If that's clear, we can get a safe plant down and no one can contest.
They couldn't go in through electrical because Rask was super low health and there was a toxic babe canister deployed there at that time.
Yeah.
So they had no option to go through the safer way through electrical. They had to take the long way around, and Rafal, he took full advantage of that.
It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Maybe I didn't know if they probably had zero idea where he was going to be and assumed maybe he'd be close, looking to trade off the smoke, for example, if a plant came in. But no, I mean, that is not a man that you want on the opening death as well. Someone that we've hyped up all game long for the entries that has been fighting. WTG taken down by Shaiko and may have just evolved into his final form, the true raid boss of BDS.
Unfortunate for Virtus.pro. They've got to show their resilience now. They've got to show their ability to play at a man disadvantage. Rask, he has proved to be a nightmare on the Valkyrie roam so far. and we're going to see if he can have that sort of impact again. Also, interestingly, Kozheka is miles away on the Aruni at the minute, what looked like in small tower to me now. Rask, he's going to be picked up on that Jackal track for the time being. He's inside a kitchen. If he plays this smart, he knows exactly where the challenge is going to come from, because he knows exactly where he's been. So you've just got to retrace your steps, and you know the direction LMs will come from. But he decides not to challenge that, because Kozheka goes for a little run out.
That is so smart, by the way. It looks like a weird one. It's because they thought there'd be a player, which I assume there would be as well. Surprised there wasn't. A player from BDS playing on the bottom right window. That's another great shot coming in. Rask goes down before Pasha trades back.
Rask's giving himself away a little bit there. A slow peak on that security rotate, and not when his team needed it. But fortunately, Pasha backs him up and gets one at least, and that leaves us now 4 versus 3. But the advantage is in the hands of BDS. They've got the breach open. They've got Diffuser in hand with Shaiko. The Gemini clone is going to go in and just try and get some information. Rafal very aware of a man just playing in and around, and it will only take one bullet onto Pasha to get him out of the round. This one surely is poised for BDS to take a monumental victory.
Absolutely. Final 30 seconds, and there's the spray down. Shaiko is doing it again. 2K in the round. Kozheka down. Pasha as well. Milan swings one back, but can he hold off against 3? Alems to the left. Does he know? No, he doesn't. Alems gets the closing kill. He found the 2, but this one goes the way of BDS.
Look at that. You can see Renshiro just jumping up out of his seat there. It shows exactly how much this victory means to BDS, not just in terms of the standings, not just in terms of the major qualification, but in terms of the effort that they've just poured into the server there, Des, and that it has taken everything they had to get that victory over Virtus.pro.
What a phenomenal game we have just bore witness to. That is an absolute gift